Hey review family, keep it tight. My name is Jay Morris, the review guy, reviewing music for the love of music, and I'm back again to bring you another video. So alongside my end-year list that's going to come around in mid to late December, one thing that I wanted to do this year is separate some videos and talk about specific genres to hopefully pay homage to some more records that maybe won't end up making that list or will sort of be lost in the noise of a bigger list. So I'm going to condense into different genres and give you some of my favorite records and recommendations, and hopefully you will find some music that you didn't know was dropped in 2021 that you haven't heard. But of course, the one thing that makes these lists super fun is to know what your guys' favorite records of the year are also. So for this specific video, I am going to be digging into black metal, with 10 of my favorite records spanning the black metal genre sphere and the subgenres, to hopefully give you some insight into the records I found to be the most satisfying, the most musically cool, or just a good listen all around. What were your favorite black metal records of 2021? Definitely let me know down in the comment section below. All of these records are going to likely be in both a pinned comment and the description if you want to go check them out for yourself, if my descriptions pique your interest at all, because I can't do them as much justice as I can if you listen to them yourself. So let's get right into the video. Coming in at number 10, I have Clenching Shadows, Romanticizing Disparity. Now, when I reviewed this record, I was sort of taken aback because so much raw black metal has been coming about in recent memory, and black metal obviously has a lot of raw records. The very foundation of the genre has very brittle production techniques, but this record stuck out to me as just a shrill, bone-shredding, piercing record with such a shrill sound to it and such an edgy sound to it. A lot of ice-cold atmosphere. It really is primal. It doesn't pull any punches. It keeps it very on the nose. It's not too uber technical, and despite the fact that it has a really dense, low-key production similar to like a Paysage de Verre, it still has a level of credibility musically that sort of permeates the track listing. I'll be honest, a lot of raw black metal sort of just blends together in a big haze and a big blur, but this record did continue to stick out to me. At number 9, I have Sayor's Guardians Remastered. I am so happy that Sayor has been continuing to remaster records, and Guardians is one that so many people are finding a new appreciation for, which rightfully so. I continue to say that Sayor is one of the best black metal bands to sort of merge folk metal in the current landscape, and they almost took home my album of the year one year, so add that to the fold. Very textured and awesome balance of classical folk instrumentation, very pagan inspired, and some harsh black metal. It never gets super heavy, it never gets very rigid and rough. It does have a pretty sheen to it, but that's sort of what I like to hear and what I like to expect from folk-infused black metal, which has become an awesome tradition. At number 8, I have Hate Forest with Hour of the Centaur. So this record released sort of right on the verge, and I only heard about it and started listening to it in 2021. Hate Forest wasn't necessarily supposed to be here, supposed to make a comeback at all as a project. This is such an aggressive, primal take on black metal, but it also has a naturistic tinge to it. It's that subterranean atmosphere, that layered atmosphere, that vibe of just you are being smothered beneath rubble. It's very twisted, and it's just a really great record. I want to thank my boy Wyatt XM for turning me on to this one. At number 7, I have Perennial Isolation with Portraits. This is a record that I reviewed very positively upon its release, and it's continued to impress me ever since. I would say I've listened to it less as time has progressed, but as far as the atmospheric black metal landscape, the black gaze landscape has went this year, I think Perennial Isolation has just this tortured sound to it, this chained up, restrained sound. It is a torture chamber of atmosphere that seems just so influenced by the anxieties that black metal embodies more often than not, living up to their name of Perennial Isolation, and even judging by the cover art, judging by the lyrics, judging by the song titles. It's very cold, it's very isolated, it is very lonesome. A record that I think slipped under the cracks for a lot of people is Prygla with Prigla, their self-titled record, and I hope I am pronouncing that correctly. Oftentimes I do mispronounce black metal bands and projects, so I apologize for that. There's really not much to say about this record other than, for some reason, it's one of those records that is addicting to listen to despite not necessarily doing anything that is so boundary pushing, so forward reaching that you'd be intrigued by it. It is an animalistic black metal record, a very primal, primitive type of black metal record with a dense production style. Think ulcerate somewhat, but maybe a little bit more intelligible. And I don't want to spoil it too much, but if you haven't listened to this record, definitely go do it because I highly recommend it. For number 5, I have to go with Darkthrone's record, Eternal Hails. It just continues to surprise me how Darkthrone sounds more vintage and stuck in more antiquity with each release, more old school. Now, comparatively speaking, with the heavy metal influence and the speed metal influence of some of their 2010s output, this record in comparison is a lot more slow and doom metal inspired, sludge metal inspired, but has the black metal timbre of the 80s and the 90s. It very much is still in the vintage lane, but they slow their sound down a great deal, and the production continues to become more buried under just layers of fog. This record's probably one of Darkthrone's catchiest records, but still sounds imposing, still sounds threatening and angry. It's kind of interesting how they can mix those two. And I haven't been the biggest fan of some of Darkthrone's most recent output, but this record really did blow me away and leave me very shocked to see how they were just able to make such a great record in this style in the year 2021. It's great to see them still kicking ass. At number 4, I have The Ruins of Beverast with the full Grimoires, a very avant-garde inspired record with a lot of different influences coming into the fold. Ruins of Beverast is a band that I continue to recommend for people that want black metal that is being merged with so many things, death metal, doom metal, sludge metal, avant-garde music, into this cacophonous anomaly sound. It's like an amalgamation that is just festering putridly with so many orifices just oozing pus, and that, I just realized that's probably one of the most fucking disgusting analogies I've ever used. But it's intelligent, it's cerebral, you can pick it apart, or you can just enjoy it standalone. Either way, The Ruins of Beverast, I think, continues to show that they have made their spot as one of just the best experimental black metal bands that are still at large right now, and every time they release anything or just breathe in my direction, I get excited, because it's just a very intelligent black metal record with a lot of influences thrown into the witch's cauldron. At number 3, I have Keck The Rock with Pale Swordsman. This is another record that sort of passed by me and shocked me when I heard it, because if you like Darkthrone's primitive take on antiquity, Pale Swordsman sounds like it was birthed out of the past with ice-cold synths that are very simple in the grand scheme. Like, for this record getting so much acclaim and so much buzz and so much hype, it really is cool to see it be very simplistic in the approach, very lo-fi. It doesn't have a very good production to it, very brittle, but not necessarily sharp. There is this isolated beauty to it that just is like some ice-cold mountain, snow-capped peak where you've been trekking on your own for days upon end and you're about to succumb to hypothermia. Even down to the aesthetic of it, so many black metal bands try so desperately an attempt to grasp the old school style and make themselves seem old school, but Këkht The Rock really, in my opinion, seems genuine with it, seems honest with it, and doesn't really pull any punches when it comes to that emotion and that vulnerability, and that's one of the reasons that this maintains its spot as one of my favorite black metal records of 2021. We're up to the big 2. At number 2, I have Human Serpent with Heirlooms Eternal. Talk about cacophony, talk about rage, talk about frenzy. This record released a decent bit ago, but I just keep going back to it. This is probably one of just the densest black metal records I've heard this year. It's so fast, it is so frantic, it has this panicked nature to it, this urgent nature to it that feels like it's trying to shake you because it's just trying to get its point across so fast and swirls around, but it's also very well produced to where each movement instrumentally and musically continues to be very apparent to the listener, but it's so chaotic. It's dark and forlorn, it's cavernous, it just is such a well-produced black metal record in the chaotic lane, so if that's up your alley, check this record out. And then my number 1 black metal record of the year is probably one that very few of you have heard, because what's a J. Morris The Review Guy list without a band you haven't heard of at number 1? At number 1, I have Ohava with Frozen Bloom. As far as atmospheric black metal goes, they can be very hit or miss. But this is a record that is just a very personal record for me this year, and I know it's not going to have the same impact on certain other people. Atmospherically, this record just never fails to evoke so much emotion in me and really put me in a headspace, put me in a mood. The instrumental is generally pretty simplistic for a atmospheric black metal band, specifically Russian atmospheric black metal, but something about this cold exterior is just very on the nose and very gorgeous in the way it's put together. This is just a record that drastically impacted me this year, and when I heard it at a time that I genuinely really needed to hear it. And as a result of that, during the time that I heard this record, it continued to hold that weight because every time I listened to it, I equated it to that time in my life where that record came about and just embodied a lot of what I was feeling at the time. But with atmospheric black metal and black gaze, I can't stress enough how much I suggest this record and recommend this record. It is beautiful, it is so well put together, and even if it's not the most original atmospheric black metal record, it continues to be my favorite of the year, and I think that it's not just going to stop once this year ends either. But that's enough for me. What are your favorite black metal records of 2021? What records meant the most to you or you enjoyed the most? Be sure to let me know down in the comment section below. I can't wait to hear it. Be sure to like this video if you enjoyed it, subscribe to join the review family today, and smash that notification bell to be notified of my future uploads. You know who it is. My name is Morris, the Review Guy, and I'm signing off saying farewell.